Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to our second of the two practice sessions for this first module of Discovering Buddhism, the Mind and its Potential. So let's just jump in right away with a meditation. And first, let's just adjust our motivation. So, as we normally do, then adjust the motivation, thinking that the purpose of my life is to benefit all sentient beings. And in particular, in order that I may be able to be of utmost benefit to all the sentient beings, I must first achieve the state of my highest potential. And therefore, I need to integrate and learn all the practices that lead to enlightenment. And therefore, I'm going to participate in this session here today. Okay, and then now let's just jump right into the meditation. And as you know, we get into a comfortable meditation position. So just adjust your cushions so you're sitting upright. And then we always practice a little bit of the mindfulness of the body, really connecting with the sense that we're now sitting. We're now sitting down for meditation. So letting go of all the thoughts about the future or the past, really grounding ourselves, feeling the pressure of the cushion or our seat on the lower part of our body. And then quickly scanning the body from head to toe, just making sure we're not holding any tension. So particularly the facial muscles, make sure they're soft, relaxed, not flexing any of the muscles around the eyes, the brows, the eyebrows. Then continue on to your toes with your own pace. When you identify an object of tension, then just release it, let it go. And now we continue on with the mindfulness of the breath. So now shift your focus to the sensations in your body associated with your inhalation and exhalation. So as you inhale, then where is the breath manifesting physically for you? And just notice those sensations. So if you've been focusing more on the rising and falling of the abdomen, then really try to get a fine sense of discernment, seeing which part of the abdomen sort of moves first, how it might change breath to breath, really getting a more granular level of detail. You might be focusing on the air as it passes over the skin in the nostril area. So here too, we can tighten our awareness and focus. But again, here we're just working with the natural breath as it is, not trying to have a long breath or a short breath, but just witnessing the natural movement of the breath. Then as we try to do that, then try not to follow after any other appearances that might come up, the external sounds or other discursive thoughts, conceptual thoughts. So we'll continue like this for a few more minutes. So now we continue by broadening our field of attention to include everything that appears in the mind. So now we're trying to focus on that awareness itself, not getting caught up in the objects of the awareness, but rather just like the sky, then different clouds can form, even very tumultuous thunderstorms and lightning can appear, but those are only part of the overall vastness of the sky. And because the sky is open and clear, then those various clouds can appear, the thunderstorms can appear, even the rainbows can appear. But all of those are impermanent in nature, and therefore, after they arise, they will pass away. And the open, clear, pristine nature of the sky remains unchanging. So here, try to maintain the awareness of the awareness itself. Just observing everything that arises in the mind. Those different thoughts, the different sounds, the different perceptions. Observe and then let go. Keep letting go. Not getting caught up with any particular appearance. And instead just observing how everything just arises in the mind. So here when we meditate, it's not like we're waiting for something to happen, but rather something is happening all the time. So we have to just be aware, just watch what is happening in this present moment, in this reality. Okay, so slowly and gently bring your awareness back to the room. Okay, and you can relax. So come out of your meditation posture. Okay. So all of you have been continuing with the daily meditation practice? Yes? Okay. Great. Are there any questions about that? We sent out the those PDF files. No? You're all experts by now? Great.
Actually, I have a
Okay.
question.
Oh, yes,
what
please.
What do you do if you start to get tired during the meditation session and you start to feel drowsy?
I have a lot of experience with that one. So yes, the answer is it depends, right? If it is okay, right? I mean, not too bad, then we use it like anything else that arises in the meditation, right? Where we are aware of it and we observe it, and then no clinging to the pleasant, no aversion to the unpleasant, right? So even the sense of drowsiness or lethargy, then in this meditation, actually, there is no distraction because we're observing whatever appears or arises in the mind. So even distraction is one thing that arises in the mind. So then we can use that, the drowsiness. The drowsiness, well, we can use as the object of meditation because that's what's arising in the present moment. So then you can watch, and then, well, how is the drowsiness manifesting, right? Maybe it's manifesting more in a certain area of the body. Just watch that too. Okay. All right. But if it's getting to be so much that you start to fall asleep and it's becoming too much of a hindrance of your meditation, then a few things they say in the traditional texts is to meditate on light. Okay. So here we pause whatever meditation we're trying to do, right? And then we shift the object of focus to light. Okay, so we can visualize a very bright light in the middle of our two eyebrows here. Okay, bright as a million suns, just on that one point. Okay, so that can help. And then they say, if it's just getting to be too much, then end your meditation session and just say, okay, it's I'm too sleepy right now, and end the session. Get out in the fresh air. Get out in the sunlight, if that's feasible. Splash water on your face. So whatever you have to do to sort of awaken yourself. Now, we know there's a connection between the body and the mind. So we also know that when we eat a big meal, then that feeling of drowsiness can come afterwards. So that's also one of the reasons why in the meditation retreats, most people, they skip dinner. And this will actually help most for the following morning meditation before one has breakfast. Then those sessions can be very clear. So also in your structuring of your daily practice, then I also like to emphasize that time early in the morning, right when you wake up and before you've had your breakfast or even your morning coffee, then that can be very conducive for meditation. So anyway, hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and then just because you brought it up, I'm gonna it reminded me of something. So normally when we talk about the obstacles to meditation, and you'll be getting into this more in the next module, which is more about meditation, but I just thought to say something now. They say that there's two main obstacles to our meditation practice at this point. We have the gross lethargy, or drowsiness, dullness, which is what we just talked about. And then the other one is the excitement or distraction. Okay, so this is when we are trying to focus on whatever object, the breath or awareness itself, then other things pull our attention away from the object of our meditation. And so normally, again, one of the benefits of this sort of bare attention, bare awareness meditation is that we can use those very distractions as the object, right? And now we can say, all right, there's a thought or there's a sound, and then we maintain this non-judgmental awareness. We're aware of what's going on in the mind, but since there's no following after the thoughts, since there's no clinging or aversion, then those will pass away in the very next moment. And in that sense, they don't distract us. But if we do notice that we have followed and we've gotten on that train of thought, that's okay too. As soon as we notice that the mind has wandered off, then we've regained the awareness, we've regained the object, right? And so then we can put it back on the breath, or then we can be aware that we're aware that we've been distracted. You know what I mean? So in that sense, the main thing that we're trying to avoid here is, I think a lot of beginners, we can get a very tight mind and be very harsh critics of ourselves when we start to meditate, and we can think, oh my gosh, I'm so distracted, I'm so bad at meditating, and then it creates a lot of negative mental energy, and then this can become a big obstacle to us, because then we can think, oh, meditation doesn't work, why am I doing this, I'm no good, I'll never become Buddha, and this whole train of thought, right? So don't get on that. Okay, don't follow after that. Then instead of viewing those times when the mind does follow after those thoughts or get carried away, right? Don't view that as the loss, but rather, when you've noticed that the mind has wandered away, then view that as the victory, right? You understand? So the thing with mindfulness is we're trying to remember, right? Mindfulness, actually, Drempa in Tibetan, it's the same word they use to remember. So we can forget things, fine, we can lose the object, but then when we remember, we've regained the mindfulness, as it were. So that should be seen as a victory. Just like when we are doing any kind of training, let's say training a puppy to be housebroken, right? Then or we want the puppy to remain in a certain place, then every time the puppy goes away and goes on the bed or the couch, we take the puppy back to its doggy bed or wherever, right? So similarly with our mind in meditation, then it's going to wander off. It's going to follow after thoughts. So every time when that happens, if we just patiently, put the mind back on the object of focus, then we're gaining that training, where we, as with anything we do, we'll get more proficient in doing that. So anyway, view that as the part of the training. Okay, and then just like so that's what we do when the distraction is not too much. Then they also say in the traditional text, when the distraction gets so much that we can't focus at all, then they say just like when we're drowsy, we try to lift up the mind by focusing on light. Then when the mind is so distracted, it's because there's too much excitement, and so we try to bring down the mind. And one way to do that is by thinking about impermanence and death. Okay, especially we tend to get more distracted by our objects of attachment, right? And so to remember death, sometimes to even think, okay, I'm going to die in this meditation session, and so stop wandering off. Okay, get like that and be a bit stark and somber, and that will sort of help cut through the chasing after objects of attachment. Okay, so those are the two main obstacles. So I thought to talk about that. Anything else at this point? Okay, so the other meditation and the next one that we'll be doing is this meditation on continuity of the mind. So I think you all noticed that there were actually two PDFs with this meditation presented. And if you were a little bit discriminating in going through them, you notice they had slightly different approaches. Okay, so one of them, it was focusing on this continuity of the mind, where we sort of remember back into our youth, and then try to think of when we were a fetus, and continue to go back to past lives. So this is when I was first introduced to this meditation, that's how it was presented to me. And well, to be honest, I still find this very difficult, right? I'm not having memories of when I was a fetus or my past lives. So if any of you are like me, then at a certain point, we try to do this meditation, and it's just like, okay, just like we were saying, it's not working. Why can't I remember all my past lives? I've been meditating for 10 days by now. Why aren't I clairvoyant, right? So the other approach was more focusing on how the mind, yes, it is a continuity, but more focusing on how certain causes and conditions then lead to other types of mind states. Okay, so this is maybe something you've noticed in your meditation, right? We sit down, we're trying to focus, and then we have a memory. That memory then leads to us, thinking about some um, maybe unpleasant experience. And then we think about the person who made us experience that. And then our mind gets agitated. Then we might get irritated or angry, right? So there's a kind of, flow of the mind where, one thought leads to another, okay, like this. So that kind of process where a um, negative kind of thought or experience, memory, then leads to negative ways of thinking, then I think we all have a lot of experience with that. And then sometimes on rare occasions, we can get the opposite one, right? Where we think of something good, positive. We might think of, our teacher and the kindness he has given us, whatever it is, and then we get on to a more positive way of thinking. Okay, so this, I think, is very important just to see, right, on a more granular level, this concept of cause and effect. We're saying that the mind is the creator of all, right? And so when we have, uh, positive thoughts, they lead to more positive thoughts, right? Any sort of habit that we're trying to inculcate, the more we do something, the easier it becomes. So here, although at our level, we might not be able to recognize our past lives, might not be able to recognize, Buddha nature in some very profound way. We can at least see, hopefully, as we continue to meditate for some even weeks or months, that the mix of kind of positive thoughts, they are getting better, yeah, and more frequent. And when we have these sort of negative thoughts or negative ways of thinking, instead of continuing on that train of thought and adding more fuel to that fire, when we step back, observe, and let them pass away, then, eventually they're going to run out of steam and they won't, gain momentum and won't be able to disturb our minds as much. Okay? So let's let's go on to our next meditation, and we'll do this continuity of the mind. So some of you noticed that when you read through the different presentations of this meditation? Yes? You guys are so smart. Okay. So again, start the meditation in the usual way. Getting into a comfortable meditation posture. So here our mind should already be a bit calm and settled. So we can do it in a more abbreviated way. Just focusing on the breath for a few moments. Okay, so now with the mind a bit settled, let's again expand the scope of the mind and just become aware of all the mental activity, the entire range of thoughts, emotions, sensations, perceptions, and just watch all of these as they arise, again without clinging or aversion. And now we can reflect on this process of awareness and trying to identify any connections between one mental event and the previous moment. So now try to just observe and reflect, thinking back in time, maybe throughout the last day, and try to reflect on if you notice any relationship between one moment and the previous one. So again, there's no right answer or wrong answer. Try to make it real in your experience. And then at your own pace, at your own time, you can continue to go back. So maybe if you had dreams last night, then you can try to remember if there's any connections to the thoughts you had as you went to sleep. And continue to go back through yesterday, last week, last month, last year. So whatever kind of observations about any connections that you see with this flow of the moments of your mind, of your mental consciousness. You can continue to try to go back as far as you can to your infancy. Maybe some of you remember the experience in the womb. Maybe some of you remember your past lives. But even if you don't, then you can reflect. Does the mere fact that one can't remember something, does that mean it doesn't happen? And then we return to the present moment. So again, just observing what's going on in our minds in this moment. And then we can imagine this stream, this continuity of consciousness going out into the future. And this continuing stream of awareness, one moment going into the other, this year going into next, and so forth, stretching out well into the future. And then we consider at our time of death, then what will happen? Will this continuity cease? Like a lamp running out of oil? Will it continue? Okay, so gently come out of the meditation and relax. Okay, so this one especially, it's not to get the answer. It's not to arrive at the right answer, especially in the first module. If we had all the modules, all the answers settled in this, then why do a 2-year course, right? So we can continue with that type of contemplation from time to time. And as we think more, analyze more, study more, then some of these things can slowly and gradually gain clarity and insight, right? Okay. So maybe a little bit of nuts and bolts, because not only is this the last practice session for this module, but it's the last session in general. So we talked about before how we're going to have a self-assessment, and I am going to be speaking with Mary Ellen soon about how to best do that. But what I'm thinking now is we will have a written assessment that you will all do online. And so we'll send out details of that very soon. And then I also was thinking, it's a bit of a shame that we're having this in a virtual setting. Normally, if it is in a physical center where people are getting together, we would have more opportunities to interact. And especially I would have more opportunity to get to know all of you. This is actually something that's very important for any teacher leading students, to know the students, know their something more about their background, how they're thinking. And so we're not having many opportunities for that. So I would like to see how it can happen, that maybe we have individual video interviews, maybe something like that. So I'll discuss with Mary Ellen about how we can do that. Okay? All right. So I'll open it up for questions one more time. And if not, well, I'll say a few things. And then we can conclude the session.
If you have some questions that you would like to put in the chat box, you can send them to me and I can read them out. That's also another way to get questions in. And I would like to say that we did last night, some of the people in the room here, and then a couple of other people from the group that weren't able to make it tonight. We did that continuity consciousness meditation with Venerable Katie, and she also didn't. We talked beforehand about going further than our memories into past lives, and I find that it's distressing to do. I can intellectually accept that there's time before my memory and that it'll continue after I think that this body won't remember. But when I try and do that one, I get downright irritated when I try to go farther, because I feel like, well, why would I really need to know? Why would I?
Oops. Right. Sorry, hold on. Is my meditation timer going off again? Okay, sorry. So, sorry, Malin, I got distracted there. You feel irritated, thinking, why would I need to know?
Yeah,
and then
I don't need to know my past lives. I can accept intellectually, even if I don't have memory of something. I mean, sometimes I can't remember what I ate for breakfast when it comes time for dinner. So it isn't beyond the realm of reasonable. What benefit would there be in my actually recalling?
Yeah, so this is a good question. Hmm. All right, a few things just come to my mind when we look at the bigger picture. In the meditations on the suffering nature of samsara, okay, you'll remember the 6 types of suffering. And then one is having to take rebirth again and again. And the other is to, so one is to pass away again and again, and the other is to take rebirth again and again, right? So then Nagarjuna says in the letter to a friend, right, there's this contemplation of imagining all the skeletons, right, all the bones, the pile that we've had since beginningless rebirths, and how high that would stack, right? And then thinking in this way, and the other one is, how much milk we've drank from our mothers from beginningless rebirth. It would be more than the great ocean. So when we do truly get a sense of the beginningless nature of the mind, the beginningless nature of samsara, then it can help to have a kind of revulsion to this endless process of rebirth. And not just that it's beginningless, but actually in every one of those lives since we've been in samsara, we've experienced one kind of suffering or another, and then getting a sense of future lives. Well, if we don't cut the root of samsara, then the number of births, the number of bodies, that pile of bones from our future lives will be even more than what we experienced thus far. So thinking in this way, we're trying to kind of expand our minds to the possibility of very, 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 very large time frames like this. Like the bodhisattva can take 3 countless great eons to achieve enlightenment. So normally we have a very short-term, narrow focus where our goals don't extend very far into the future. So I think part of just getting the sense of, our lives, ourselves being more than just this life can help to do that. But again, if we're not getting that, then it's something we can force, So also don't worry if we're not, remembering our past lives. It's okay. Be how do you say, patient and comfortable in wherever we're at right now. Anyway, that's just one thought I had about why they do this. In general, mind and its potential. So we're trying to get a sense of the potential of the mind. And it's only when we start to think of these huge time frames, countless eons, where we get a sense of, enlightenment is probably not going to happen in this life for any of us. And sorry to burst your bubble, but we need to have a very big time frame to contemplate the possibility of becoming fully enlightened, perfectly completed Buddhas. So anyway, that's just one thought.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question? Jan?
I do, and you may answer this in the next module. We now have learned several different types of meditation. Is there any guideline on to which one to choose when?
Yeah, so generally, I think you'll notice even when we've been doing these, mind like the sky or the mind as the knower, there is a progression in the meditation session where we sit down, we settle our mind, we focus on the breath, and then after we have calmed the mind and have some level of stability, then we sort of loosen the focus on the breath and just then allow the mind to be aware of the mind itself, right? So both the mind as the knower and the mind as the space-like awareness are similar in that sense, where we're expanding from the breath to everything that's appearing in the mind. So if you wish, right, you can continue just with the mindfulness of the breath. And some days when we are not that focused, and we don't feel that we've really settled in to the breath, then we can continue just with that. That's okay. But this, we call it the non-judgmental awareness, is very good to cultivate. So as much as you can, then, try to loosen the focus on the breath and just settle in and let anything arise in the mind and bear witness to that without pushing away or clinging. And it's very good at our level, at our point. And then later we'll get into more of the analytic meditations, especially when we start to get into Lam. But for now, I think that'd be quite good. And if you don't do this continuity of the mind meditation, it's okay too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, Venerable, so
yes,
going back, touching a little bit on the part of your answer at the very end, Barry Allen's question. So how does one, when you said, I don't want to burst your bubble, and and we have to be realistic, but so how does, knowing that this could take eons and eons, how does one keep a sense of urgency, in the present moment to constantly invest the time to practice, even though we understand that this is going to be for the future and the future and the future, the benefit, although there is immediate benefit to it, I'm sure there is.
Yeah. So that's a very good question. So here, the thing is like this: even if we make consistent, concerted effort on a daily basis, it's going to take a long time. But if we don't put in even that level of effort, then it'll never happen, actually, right? Okay. So the Kadampa masters, Kadampa masters in Tibet, they had a saying. They had three pieces of advice, and they said to generate a vast mind. Okay, so here, the vastness of the mind entails the vastness of our aspiration. So yes, we are working to become fully enlightened, perfectly completed in every way, Buddhas, and that aspiration, that goal is just so vast, so amazing that we need to set our aspiration on that. But then how do we do that? We then keep a steady pace, okay? So the Buddha mentions in the sutras, right, that even a big vessel, a big pot even adding drop by drop, it gradually will be filled. So with us, we have to make sure that each day we keep putting in our drops, right? And not be so focused on, okay, how close am I to enlightenment? When is it going to happen? But rather, you see this concept actually in a lot of the kind of self-help gurus, right? About cultivating habits. James Clear, I don't know if you have heard of him. He wrote this book, Atomic Habits. I'm a big fan of his, right? And so he talks about falling in love with the process, not the results, right? So we keep putting in, as it were, he talks a lot about exercise as well. We keep putting in our reps, we don't focus on, like, let's say we're trying to, get in shape. We don't set goals for ourselves. I want to lose 10 pounds, but rather we set a goal. I'm going to, work out every day. I'm not going to skip a workout. I'm going to eat healthy, right? So focusing on the process rather than the results. So again, when we apply that to our meditation, then think, I'm not going to skip a meditation, not I'm going to become enlightened next month, right? And then the third point of the Kadampa masters is then not to squeeze ourselves. Okay, so when we have a very tight mind, right, like that's focused on the outcome or attaining a certain goal in the near term, then the mind can become very tight. And especially when we have timelines that, forget about enlightenment, but even by next month, I want to be meditating, an hour at a time without any distractions, right? If we set up these kinds of goals, like Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche says, if we meditate with fantasized expectations, we're only going to get fantasized results, right? So here, not squeezing ourselves means to allow this process to unfold naturally as it is. And then to this other point that you brought up about how do we maintain this sense of urgency, right? Well, then actually the meditation on death is the best one for that, right? So I think many of you have heard of Shantideva. He has some very nice quotations about something along the lines of the fact that we've just attained this precious human rebirth, only this one time, and if I don't make use of it now, how will such a opportunity arise again in the future, right? He also says, once we've attained this precious boat of a human body, use it to cross the great river of suffering. Such a boat will not come again, so there's no time for sleep, you fool. So he's kind of admonishing himself to, make use of it. So these contemplations, we've touched on the precious human rebirth a bit, where we see its great utility and usefulness. Now we combine that with the next step. Not only have we attained this perfect human rebirth, which we can, if used properly, we can make the, utmost progress along the path to enlightenment. But not only that, it's going to end soon. We don't know when, right? And so if we're going to practice, we have to, practice from today. So anyway, that's what I thought. That's what I think. Does that help?
Very good.
Does that answer
Thank
your
you,
question?
Venerable. Yes, I feel better already.
Okay. Great. Oh, wow. So actually our time is almost up. So is there anything else? Any other questions?
I have a question, but like, should I just stay longer or save it for another day or something?
No, don't save it. Ask now.
Okay. Okay, then I'll be quick. So I personally am having trouble like believing in the specifically the idea of like rebirth and there being like consecutive lives. And as a result, with like the meditations where you're trying to like meditate on your previous lives, I've kind of altered it to be like, okay, maybe I could have been born as the person I just passed on the street, or I could have been born as the president. I could have been born as any number of people, kind of like in the precious human rebirth meditation. Do you think I should stick with meditating on previous lives despite the fact that I don't quite believe in it, or should I do a sort of analogous meditation?
Right. Okay. So a couple things. One is even if right now you don't have the full confidence and belief in the past and future lives. Okay. First of all, that's fine. Right. So it's very important to maintain a healthy sense of skepticism and not just believing everything that is there in the text just because it's there. So this is one of the Buddha's own advice for us. I think I mentioned about the goldsmith buying gold, not just to buy the gold without first analyzing. So that's fine. Don't worry. All right. But that also the healthy sense of skepticism also means, not to reject without analysis. So we can leave it as a kind of unresolved hypothesis that we're going to continue to analyze. Okay, so that's fine. All right, so now how then that translates into our practice. So with something like the precious human rebirth, yes, they say now we are not reborn as a hell being or a hungry ghost. Okay, so these kinds of contemplation would require at least some sense that those other realms of existence exist, right? But even if we don't accept those, then at least there's the animal rebirth that we can see. And so as you're doing now, you can either contemplate in the negative way, right? That, oh, I haven't been reborn as that, in that kind of condition. Or you can focus on the positive way and say, well, I do know now that I am a human being with reasonable enough intelligence, with interest in the teachings, with this mind that has been exposed to these training methods that I can, integrate, right? And that should just give some sense that our opportunity is very, precious, and our life is very meaningful, and that we can do something with it that is beyond just chasing after the temporary kind of sense pleasures, and do some kind of internal mental work and development that will lead to a better future. So if you're just thinking like that, that's actually very, very good, right? And at our level, that's fine. That's fine to do. The point of this precious human rebirth meditation is just to get a larger sense of what we can do with our time, what we can do with our lives. And so if you're doing that, then good. How does that sound?
Sounds about right. Thank you. Good perspective.
Yeah, there's a book out by Venerable Pema Chodron saying "Start where you are." Right, that's the title of the book. And in general, that is great advice. You don't even have to read the whole book. Just know the title, right? Start where you are. So of course, when we read these stories of the great masters and great bodhisattvas who are, you know, giving away their bodies, right? Who are, you know, sealing themselves off in caves in the Himalayas. It's like, wow, you know, how am I ever going to do that? So where are we now? Well, we don't realize our past and future lives, right? We aren't able to, you know, chop off our body parts and give it away to people who we meet on the street. That's okay. So where are we? We have some, you know, whatever experiences that we have, they'll lead to more experiences, more realization the longer we go on. So the point is, we have to, you know, take step by step, day by day, session by session, and gradually these things that are very complex, we will gain more knowledge and clarity about. Okay? All right. So with that, let us dedicate all this positive energy that we've created in our time throughout the whole module. So we can think that due to all this positive energy, may ourselves and then all the living beings in the entire universe quickly be freed from all their suffering and attain the lasting peace, well-being, and happiness of liberation and enlightenment as quickly as possible. And so I also think those of you who are in the US, it's still July 6th there, which many of you know is His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday. So yeah, it's of actually so important, you know, when we're trying to transform our lives, transform our minds, to have living examples of those who have done what we're trying to do. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama definitely is, you know, when I grew up, I want to be just like that, right? So in order that we can enact this transformation, then we need the continued guidance of perfect qualified masters like His Holiness. So I think today also it's very auspicious on his birthday to dedicate our positive energy for the long life of His Holiness Dalai Lama, and in particular that his activities to benefit sentient beings, his activities of teaching will increase and continue for a very, very, very long time. Okay, so maybe that's it for now. And we'll get in touch soon about the self-assessment. And until then, I wanted to just thank you for all of your hard work in doing this module. So module 2 will be led by Tenzin Lexo. So yeah, I hope you all are able to continue with these various modules. And I'll see you probably for module 3. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So to Mary Ellen and Urs and all the good folks who have helped organize these sessions, I also give you my thanks. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Yeah.